Welcome to JK Tells a Story, where real-life dramas unfold. Sit back and enjoy today's tale. It was another day in Chicago, a day to solve more crimes. You see, I'm a cop. My name is Michael Sullivan, but everyone calls me Mike. I love watching the old reruns of Dragnet. In an hour, Jack Webb and Harry Morgan could solve a crime. I wish it was that easy today. I'm a cop too. Only I'm not on television. I've been on the Chicago Police Department force for 14 years and love my job. The only thing I love more in life than my job is my wife Sarah and my 2 daughters. There is nothing in this world I wouldn't do for them. I ran into a problem last Monday and I've been trying to deal with it. When I got home, Sarah had my favorite dinner on the table. It was something she hadn't done for months. Then she told me that she wanted to know if it was all right with me if she went out with her friends on Friday night. I usually wouldn't have a problem with that, except she didn't look at me when she asked. You see, I have a sort of sixth sense about people. I can look at someone's face and know if they're telling the truth or not. This helped me in my career. I may not always know what the truth is, but I can tell if I'm being lied to. I have to laugh when I watch Judge Judy on TV. The way she tells people to look her in the eyes. I believe we both share that gift. Back to Sarah. She looked at me when she asked to go out, but when I asked her who else was going, she looked away and mentioned a few girlfriends' names. When I asked her if anyone else would be there, she hesitated and said she wasn't sure. I could tell she wasn't being entirely honest. We've never lied to each other before, or at least I thought we hadn't. We've had one of those marriages that people admire. Where are you all going? I asked. This time she looked me in the eyes. We're thinking of going to Milwaukee to a couple of places. Jennifer's making the arrangements. We'll probably spend the night there. We don't want to be driving drunk or even slightly tipsy. I'd hate to have to call you to bail me out of jail. She smiled, but it seemed forced, like she was still hiding something. I was almost certain Sarah had always been faithful to me, but something felt off. I didn't want to accuse her without any proof, but her behavior left me unsettled. I needed time to think. My daughters came in and hugged me as they always did, and instantly lifted my mood. We sat down to dinner, but Sarah avoided eye contact with me for most of the meal. I finally told her she should go out if she wanted to, that I'd stay home with the girls and we'd find something to do. It had been a while since I'd spent much quality time with them. I met Sarah 12 years ago. My partner and I were on routine patrol and we decided to set up a radar gun on Lake Shore Drive where there were reports of speeders. My partner Rebecca Martinez was a female officer and one of the best. I trusted her with my life. We set up alongside the street and the traffic was light, with most vehicles staying within 5 miles per hour of the limit. Then one car clocked in at 8 miles per hour over and I waved it over. When I walked up to the car, there she was, the cutest gal I'd ever seen behind the wheel. It was Sarah. She gave me a shy smile and asked why I'd pulled her over. You were exceeding the speed limit. May I see your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance? Please. I was trying to stay professional, but she definitely caught my attention. Where were you headed in such a hurry? I asked. I'm a senior at Northwestern, on my way to take a couple of finals. I'm sorry, officer, but I thought I was going the speed limit. Your radar must be off. Wrong thing to say to a cop. I went back to the cruiser and started writing up a ticket. Our radar equipment was checked daily, no chance of it being off. If she just apologized, I probably would have let her off with a warning. Rebecca, watching from the cruiser, chuckled. You're not giving that girl a ticket, are you? I can't believe you're not just giving her a warning. I want to see her again, I replied. I've got her address here. Maybe I'll stop by when I'm in the neighborhood. Are you nuts? Laughed Rebecca. You think she'll go out with you after giving her a ticket? You're one mixed-up officer, Mike. Rebecca, I can't stop her for a violation and then ask her out. That wouldn't be right. I went back to Sarah's car, handed her the ticket and her documents. Sorry, miss, but you will have to slow down in residential areas, I said as I handed her the ticket and her papers. What? No warning? You're just giving me a ticket? She looked at me. You were speeding, miss. You have a court date if you want to fight it, I replied. See you in court, officer, was the last thing she said to me. A week later, when I went to court, she was there. Not the young schoolgirl with a ponytail, but dressed like a woman ready for business. She looked stunning in her dress, and although she appeared composed, her outfit was certainly designed to make an impression. I guess she was going to try to win over the judge. Sarah looked over at me and I smiled back at her. I could see she was ready to pull the "I'm sorry. The officer must have made a mistake" routine until she saw the judge. It was Judge Patricia Williams. When Sarah looked back at me, I had a grin on my face. I could see it made her mad, but I also saw something more, a kind of spark between us. I gave my statements and a report of the morning's radar check. Everything was in order. Judge Williams then asked Sarah for her side of the incident. Sarah knew she had nothing to back up any allegations and mumbled a few words. The judge told her she was in the wrong and found her guilty of speeding. Judge Williams glanced over at me. I knew she was wondering why I'd given this young woman a ticket. She just shook her head. I headed out into the lobby to wait for Sarah. When she came out, she walked right up to me and said, I hope you're happy that you got your man. In this case, a woman. I smiled at her and decided to go for it. Will you go out with me? What? You give me a ticket, ruin my weekend, and you think I'll go out with you? She asked, but she was looking at me and I could tell she was intrigued. How did I ruin your weekend? It's not even here yet, I asked. I was going to go out with my classmates and celebrate passing my finals. But now I have to pay the stupid fine you cost me, she said. First off, you were speeding. And second, I want to take you out this weekend. It would be great. I'll take you wherever you want to go and it won't cost you anything. I knew I was winning her over. What about my friends? What am I supposed to tell them? She asked. Try the truth. Tell them you had to pay a speeding fine and won't have the money to go out with them. Tell them the cop felt some remorse and offered to take you out for dinner and dancing, and wants your hand in marriage. I laughed. Sarah laughed too. I'll take you up on the dinner and dancing, but the marriage will have to wait. Let's see how dinner goes first. Okay with me, but you're going to love me. I can see it in your face, I teased. I'll pick you up Saturday at 7 o'clock. Is that agreeable with you? That's fine, and I'll wear this dress if you promise not to wear your uniform. I don't want anyone to think I'm getting arrested. Need my address? She asked. Nope, already have it. I've been driving by for a week hoping to see you. So it's you who's been driving by my house? My mom said that the police have been protecting our area more than usual. Isn't that stalking? She smiled. If anyone else kept an eye on you, it would be stalking. But I'm here to protect and serve. I was protecting your neighborhood from unwanted crime. I was protecting you and your family. My mom will be glad to know that. I'll tell her tonight so she can sleep much better knowing you were there. She smiled. Our date was fantastic. Even though she was maybe 5 feet 3 inches and about 115 pounds, and I was 6 feet 5 inches and at least 250 pounds, we were like two peas in a pod. It was almost love at first sight, or at least love at first date for me. From that night on, we became the best of friends. About 2 years later, we got married. 2 years after that, Emma was born. A year and a half later, we had Olivia. Her mom and dad loved me, and I loved them. My parents felt the same way about Sarah. We really were one big happy family. After graduating from Northwestern, Sarah became a teacher at Lincoln Elementary School. After the kids were born, her mom would watch them for us during the day. We very rarely argued, and we always talked through our problems. I would tell her about the cases I was working on, and she would tell me about the kids in her class. She once asked me if I would do a safety talk for her students since some of them were acting up. She figured that me talking to them might help straighten them out, and she was right. Now, at the beginning of every semester, I talk about crime and safety to her class. Sarah says that when she tells her students I'm her husband, they behave a lot better. We have two groups of good friends. She has her fellow teachers and school administrators, and I have my fellow officers and their families. We lead busy lives, but we always make time for each other. I trust her and she trusts me. Our marriage is built on that mutual trust. I should mention that there are people out there who, for some reason, hate to see happy marriages and will always try to break them up. Sarah and I have talked about this many times, and we both stay vigilant in those situations. I have never been unfaithful to her, even though there have been opportunities. I guess some women are drawn to the idea of being with a cop. If a woman gets overly friendly with me at a party, I try to stop it by being polite but firm. If that doesn't work, I find Sarah and spend time with her. When that happens, Sarah will give me a kiss and a little smile. There's no way I would risk our marriage for something meaningless. In our 10 years of marriage, I've been approached by quite a few women, so it stands to reason that someone as good-looking as Sarah has experienced the same, if not more. A few times she has come to me for help when a situation got uncomfortable, and I've always taken care of it. The situation I'll tell you about happened at one of those parties where my friend's brother was bothering Sarah. She came up to me and mentioned that David was getting a little too forward. I asked her if he had tried anything, and she said no, but he kept pushing the situation. I walked up to David, who told me what a beautiful wife I had. I responded directly, "Thank you. She's my life, and if any man ever tried to make advances on her, I would have no problem confronting him." There are many ways to handle that kind of situation. After saying that to David, I returned to Sarah, wrapped my arms around her, and gave her a kiss. Later I asked her if she had any more issues with David, and she told me that he treated her as if she had the plague. She inquired about what I had said to him, and I told her that I expressed my love for her and that I would do whatever it takes to protect her. She said it worked. I had to talk to a few guys during our marriage, but I figured Sarah could handle the rest. I truly believe Sarah has always been honest with me. There were a few times we stopped associating with certain couples if either of us felt uncomfortable. We agreed it was best to remove ourselves from those situations. Believe me when I say there is a lot of questionable behavior happening in the world. I see it frequently. I do my best to keep my wife and kids safe from any negative influences. About 6 months ago, a lot of things changed. Looking back, I realized that much of it was my own doing. Rebecca and I received a call about shots fired in a residential neighborhood on Chicago's North Side, and we were the first ones on the scene. As I prepared to enter the house, Rebecca was my backup at the door with her weapon drawn. Pushed the door open, it was unlocked. Upon entering the family room, I was met with silence, followed by a moan from a bedroom down the hallway. I cautiously made my way down the hall and saw a light on in the far bedroom. When I walked in, I found a woman in a nightgown who had been shot at least 3 times, twice in the chest and once in the forehead. On the floor in front of her was a man in a suit, blood covering his chest, a gun in his hand. I saw him move, then he seemed to lose consciousness. I took a few steps forward and kicked the revolver out of his grip, bending down to check his pulse when I heard a scream. It was Rebecca. I quickly turned around and saw her standing in front of a doorway across the hall. I rushed to her, looking into the room where 2 young children lay on the bed, both shot once in the head. I was nearly overcome with emotion. What had happened here? Rebecca radioed dispatch, requesting backup and an ambulance. I was assigned to the investigation, and it hit me hard. Family destroyed. The man was barely alive but unconscious. The paramedics rushed him to the hospital while the woman and the 2 young children were pronounced dead. Was it a triple murder and an attempted suicide? Was he the father and husband? This deeply affected me. The woman was the same age as Sarah, and the kids were similar in age to my 2 girls. Emma was 8 and Olivia was 6. What could drive a man to that point? When I got home that night, I greeted my family and hugged them tightly. That evening, I shared my feelings with Sarah about the murder investigation that was weighing on my mind. I told her I might be home late for a while until I could sort through what had happened, and she said she understood. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months. I became distant, stopped communicating with Sarah, and started spending more time at O'Malley's, the bar where the cops hung out. In hindsight, I realized I had become paranoid and obsessed with the case. Whenever I thought about the murder, I couldn't help but think of Sarah and my girls. Over the next 6 months, I put my marriage on hold and noticed changes in Sarah. She stopped talking to me and would often argue with me about my visits to O'Malley's. The more she complained, the more I felt compelled to escape to the bar. I could sense our marriage slowly falling apart, yet my mind couldn't comprehend what was happening. During those months, Sarah seemed to dress differently for work, and I found myself scrutinizing her for signs of infidelity. No, she wouldn't do that to me. I was just imagining things. Last week, my supervisor sent me to see our psychologist at the station. Dr. Lisa Patterson suggested that I was talking to the wrong person and should really be opening up to Sarah about everything. Lisa was a good friend to both Sarah and me. She suggested that I have a heart-to-heart talk with Sarah and was confident that Sarah would understand. On Monday, I got home from work and Sarah had steak and mashed potatoes on the table. This was when she asked me about going out with her friends on Friday. I wanted to discuss my concerns with her, but felt this probably wasn't the right time. I was scared and began to wonder if Sarah might have an affair, or if she already had. I kept telling myself that our love for each other was too strong for that. I told her I would watch the kids on Friday, thinking I was getting back to normal, but I wasn't really sure. I considered telling her she couldn't go, but what would that accomplish? I needed a different approach. That night I attempted to be affectionate with Sarah, but it felt different. It was as if she was only participating because I had said she could go out with her friends. I hoped I was wrong about everything. On Tuesday, Rebecca was out on maternity leave, leaving me without someone to confide in. I had a new partner riding with me, but I wasn't about to share my issues with him. I needed to find a way to handle this. When I got home, I kissed my daughters, who hugged me back and climbed onto my lap while we watched one of their favorite shows. Sarah entered the room, greeting us and announcing that dinner was almost ready. I watched her closely for any signs of change, particularly as we talked during dinner. I had an idea. Let's do a plan B this weekend, I suggested. How about you skip going out with your friends on Friday and we take the girls to Six Flags? We can even spend the night. We haven't had a family outing in ages. She was upset and expressed her frustration. No, you make your reservations and spend some time with the girls. I'm going out with my friends. Sarah was clearly hurt, and after a moment she excused herself to the bathroom in tears. The girls looked scared and asked if Mommy was all right. I assured them she was just upset and everything was fine. Emma, my youngest, asked, "Daddy, are you still going to take us to the park on Saturday?" "Sure. Sweetheart, why not?" I replied. "We can go to the park and ride the rides." Emma responded, "I wish Mommy could come with us." I felt bad for the girls. They loved both their parents, and I realized I shouldn't have mentioned it in front of them. I decided I would take them anyway and make the best of it. On Wednesday, I was increasingly worried about my marriage due to my actions over the past 6 months. I felt as if I was pushing Sarah away. Was I driving her into the arms of someone else? I needed to address my concerns without making accusations. When I got home, Sarah mentioned she was going shopping for clothes to wear out on Friday. I wanted to shout at her that we needed to talk, but I held back. After she left, I took the girls to McDonald's for dinner. Sarah had told me she was going shopping with her friend Jennifer, and as I drove by Jennifer's house, I spotted Sarah's car. I felt guilty for checking up on her. It wasn't something I was proud of. After dinner, we returned home, and while the girls watched TV, I checked emails and messages around the house. I even went down to the basement to check the caller ID on an unused phone. I noted a few unfamiliar numbers, just in case I needed them later. When Sarah returned home, she had several shopping bags. I asked her what she had bought for her night out. She looked at me skeptically. "So now you're interested in what I wear?" she asked. I replied, "I'm just trying to be a good husband and show interest in what you do. If you don't want to share it with me, that's fine." She brought out a cute black dress. "Here, I bought this. It's pretty," I said. "I know you'll look great in it." But it bothered me. The dress was quite revealing, and I felt uncertain about how to respond. I noticed other bags and asked what else she had purchased. She went back to the bedroom and returned with pajamas. "I got these for home," she said, avoiding eye contact. That indicated to me she did plan to wear them elsewhere. The other bag contained a couple of outfits for the girls to wear at Six Flags with me on Saturday. The girls beamed and kissed their mother for buying them something, which was typical of her, always thinking of the kids. She gathered her packages and put them back in the bedroom, then told the girls it was time to shower and get ready for bed. After putting them to bed, she took a shower herself. I glanced into one of the bags I had seen her bring in but not show me, and it contained a striking pair of black lingerie that would complement the dress she bought. I couldn't help but wonder why she hadn't shown them to me. Perhaps she was afraid I would be upset. When she came out of the shower, I told her I was going to O'Malley's. I needed some time to think of a counterplan. When I got home, she was already asleep. On Thursday, I got up and kissed the girls and even kissed Sarah before heading to the station. While on patrol, I had an idea. I stopped by the corner flower shop and bought a bouquet of mixed flowers for Sarah. Her favorite flower was yellow carnations, but I didn't want her to know these were from me. I had the florist write the card, "To a special lady. Can't wait till this weekend." I signed it simply as "Your friend." Sarah loved fresh flowers. Whenever she went to the store, she always liked to buy a small bouquet and put it on the table. I instructed the flower shop to deliver them, and if no one was home, to just leave them on the porch. I thought about those flowers all day. I also decided it was time to have a special talk with Sarah that night. I needed to express my feelings and explain why I had been acting the way I had for so many months. I just hoped I hadn't waited too long. When I got home, Sarah had a small smile on her face as she set dinner on the table. I noticed the bouquet of flowers on the table and asked her where they came from. She looked me in the eye, then glanced away, hesitating before answering. I stopped at the store and saw them in the flower department and bought them. "Aren't they beautiful?" "Yes, very pretty," I replied, but now I was worried. She never mentioned the card and had lied to me about where she got the flowers. I felt a deep ache inside. I told Sarah I needed to talk to her after we put the girls to bed. It was very important. She looked puzzled but agreed to listen. I needed to explain why I had been acting strangely, hoping she would understand. I felt I was losing her, especially with her going out on Friday. "Sarah, I have to tell you what's been going on in my life. I've been holding it in too long," I began. Sarah interrupted me. "Lisa, is she the one you're having an affair with? I always thought she was our friend." "I can't believe it. An affair? Lisa and I didn't have an affair. Where did you get that idea? You've been so distant for the last few months." I figured you were having an affair. I just didn't know with whom, Sarah replied. Stop. I haven't been having an affair. I've been struggling with the aftereffects of one of my cases. I was sent to talk to Lisa because she's our station psychologist. She told me I should be talking to you, and that's what I'm trying to do. Please stop interrupting me with these affair accusations. I'm sorry for interrupting. I'll try to listen to what you have to say. I hope it's not just a ploy so I don't go out with my friends tomorrow. I began my story about a murder and attempted suicide from about 6 months ago. A very successful businessman named John Morrison, about my age, had shot his 2 kids and then fired multiple times at his wife before attempting to take his own life. It was hard on me. We don't get too many cases like that. When I found the man alive, I wanted to confront him myself. Those poor little kids never knew what hit them. I couldn't stop thinking about Emma and Olivia. It was such a horrible sight. When I came home that night, I held you and hugged the girls. It was something I'll never forget. I just couldn't understand why a man would do that. When I talked to some of his neighbors and coworkers, they said he had the perfect marriage. They were always happy and hardly ever argued, which was a lot like us. 2 days later, I finally got a chance to talk to John in the hospital. The shot to his chest was self-inflicted, as we suspected, but he missed his heart by a few millimeters. The first thing he said to me was to ask me to kill him. He didn't want to live. He told me to unplug his life support. He had always thought they had a great marriage, never dreaming his wife would betray him. He believed he had the perfect life, a wonderful wife and great kids. There were no financial worries, and the family was full of love. He had been away on business, expecting to be gone for 2 more days, but finished early and caught a red-eye flight home to surprise them. Upon arriving, he noticed a strange car in the driveway, so he parked in front of the house. The only light on was in the bedroom. Quietly, he got out of his car, unlocked the front door, and stepped inside. A faint sound from the bedroom caught his attention. He hesitated at the closed doors of his children's rooms, then walked toward his own bedroom. Peering in, he was taken aback by what he saw, his wife with another man. He stood frozen, disbelief washing over him. After a moment, he backed away, his mind swirling. He left the house in a daze, driving to his office. Once there, he opened his safe and took out his revolver, feeling a surge of emotions he could hardly process. Returning home, he found his wife kissing the man, who soon drove away. Without thinking, he followed the man to a nearby town. In a parking garage, the confrontation escalated, leading to a tragic decision that left him feeling hollow. When he returned home, a dark cloud hung over him. He felt an overwhelming impulse to erase the pain, which led to irreversible choices that shattered his family. As the night unfolded, his wife, alerted by the sound of chaos, cried out in horror. The weight of his actions bore down on him, and as he faced the consequences, he realized the gravity of his decisions. The aftermath was grim. Neighbors heard the chaos and called for help, but it was too late. As the story came to light, the tragic links between their lives unfolded, revealing layers of hurt and betrayal. Sarah's voice trembled as she asked, "Mike, do you truly think I could ever betray you like that?" Tears filled her eyes as she expressed her fears. It wasn't just about him. It was about the possibility of losing everything I held dear. The thought of being driven to such despair haunted me. Lately, I've sensed a change in you, a distance that made me anxious. I know you haven't been entirely honest with me lately. I can't remember you ever lying to me before, but over the last few months I've noticed you dressing more differently. It makes me worried about losing you and how I might react. I think I love you too much. It's a fine line between love and obsession. I just wanted to share my feelings with you. When I looked up, I saw that Sarah was crying. She didn't say a word and ran into the bathroom. I was confused and anxious. I had just poured my heart out to her. Did I say something wrong? I felt like a nervous wreck. I decided to head to O'Malley's and give Sarah some space to think. I hoped I had done my best and that she felt the same. When I returned from the bar, the house was dark and Sarah seemed to be sleeping. I chose to sleep on the couch, wanting to avoid any more confrontations that night. Friday morning, I woke up early, dressed quickly, and kissed the girls goodbye. I told Sarah through the bathroom door that I would be home at 6 o'clock to take care of the girls while she went out with her friends. I didn't wait for a reply. I just got in my car and left. The day didn't go well for me. I took my frustrations out on the people I stopped, giving out tickets without hesitation. By the end of my shift, I was glad to be done until Monday. As I drove home, I imagined Sarah dressed up for someone else, and the thought frustrated me. When I opened the front door, the smell of dinner wafted through the air. Sarah greeted me in a comfortable outfit, reaching up to pull me down for a kiss. "Welcome home, honey," she said. "What's going on? Shouldn't you be getting ready to go out with your friends?" I asked. Emma and Olivia ran in and hugged me. "Mommy's going to Six Flags with us tomorrow. She said she would rather be with us than her old friends," Emma replied. "Is this true, Sarah? What changed your mind?" I asked. "I thought your plan B would be a lot more fun," she said. "I'll tell you my side of the story later. Right now, dinner is getting cold, and you don't like cold steak. My favorite dinner twice in 1 week. There really is a God," I laughed. We all sat down to eat. The girls shared stories about their day at school, and Sarah told me about hers. When they asked about my day, I mentioned how many people had gotten tickets for speeding. Sarah smiled and said, "Well, you can't marry any of them because you're already married." We all laughed, but the girls looked at us with confusion. After dinner, the girls grabbed their suitcases and began packing for our trip to the park. Sarah laughed as they insisted on bringing all their toys. "No, girls, you can only take one toy to play with in the car. You need a change of clothes and your pajamas. Don't forget your swimsuits if you want to swim in the motel pool." "Can we go swimming in the pool?" Olivia asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I looked over at my 2 happy little girls. "Of course we'll ride rides, swim in the pool, and eat at any restaurant you want. It's our family weekend." The girls jumped up and down, squealing with joy. Once Sarah finally calmed them down and tucked them in for the night, I settled onto the couch, waiting for her to come and talk to me. When she entered the room, she sat down in the chair next to me. "I'm sorry for crying yesterday, Mike," Sarah began. "I was upset for so many reasons. I love you. I thought you had a girlfriend and I didn't know how to handle it. I remember that night about 6 months ago when you were so passionate with me, but then you started pulling away. After that conversation about the murder-suicide, I was confused and worried. I waited a week, but you didn't talk to me at all. I was mad when you said you pictured me cheating. I thought you trusted me more than that." She continued, "Then I began to think about what you were going through. You shouldn't have had to face it alone. We could have worked through it together. I was worried that you were falling out of love with me. I thought maybe you thought I'd gained too much weight, so I started exercising and lost 15 pounds. I bought new clothes hoping you'd notice, but I didn't think you did. It felt like the only time we were close was when I initiated it, and it seemed rushed. Last Monday, it felt like you were being affectionate out of some sort of revenge because I wanted to go out, and that hurt my pride. I didn't like that side of you," she said, looking down. "I stopped talking to you because every time I said something, you yelled at me. I can't tell you how much that hurt. You never raised your voice at me before. I was afraid to ask you anything, and then you started going to O'Malley's almost every night. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know how to fix it. You bought me flowers, didn't you? Why didn't you tell me? She asked. I was scared to death when I received them. You know I like yellow carnations, so I thought you did it out of spite. Why did you do that? I replied, I wanted to see if you had a boyfriend or someone else in your life. I hoped you would tell me about it when I got home. I lied and said I bought them myself because I was afraid of your reaction, she admitted. The same thing happened when I asked who you were going out with, and you lied to me then too. I didn't want to lie, but I was scared. We hadn't talked at all. So now let's talk. Do you have someone else? My God, no. You're my love, my only love, Sarah exclaimed. I wanted to tell you about a guy who was flirting with me, but I was half afraid to since you've been so distant. You know how we joke around with friends. There's a new guy, Tyler, who joined our staff. I don't know much about him, but when he started coming on to me, I told him to back off because I'm a happily married woman. He laid low for a while and I thought everything was okay. When Jennifer asked me to go out with the group last Monday, I figured, why not? You said no to me and we hadn't gone out in months, so I told her yes. Later she mentioned that Tyler was going, and it bothered me because I wanted nothing to do with him. Jennifer said there would be a lot of people going, about 8 of us. Only 2 were men. Tyler and David, who was bringing his wife, so I figured I was safe. I wanted to ask you to go, but you said no the last 3 times I asked, so I ended up not going either. I didn't tell you his name because I was afraid you would get mad at me. On Thursday, when I received the flowers, I thought they were from Tyler. I wasn't sure what to do. I've never received flowers from anyone but you. When you came home and asked where they came from, I panicked. If they weren't from you, then Tyler must have sent them. I was too scared to tell you, so I lied. I'm so sorry. I felt terrible for lying to you, but I didn't know what to do. This morning I confronted Tyler. I told him that I'm happily married and love my husband, and to stop sending me flowers or anything else, Sarah explained. He looked at me and said he never sent me flowers. That's when I realized it was you. I felt a bit foolish, but I told Tyler to make sure he never did it again, or I'd send my husband to have a talk with him. Mike, I love you with all my heart. There is no one else. There never has been and never will be. I need you to know that, Sarah said earnestly. I know. I love you too and only you, I replied. No, Mike, you don't understand. These aren't just words. Look me in the eyes. I know you can read my face, so stare at me and listen. Mike, I love you and only you. Do you see the truth in my face? I could see the sincerity in her expression. I leaned forward and kissed her deeply. I see the truth and I honestly believe you, I replied. We got up and went to bed. She slipped on her new pajamas and I changed into my boxers. I grabbed us each a glass of soda and we watched a little TV while lying on the bed. I thought we were going to do that in the motel tomorrow, I teased. There's plenty more love where this came from, she replied with a smile. When we finished watching TV, we turned it off and cuddled together, something we hadn't done in a long time. Our relationship felt renewed, and the rest of our weekend went wonderfully. We enjoyed our time with the girls, and at night we let them have the big bed while we closed the bedroom door and slept on the sofa bed. We didn't get much sleep, but it was worth it. The following Monday, on my way to work, I bought a dozen yellow carnations and had them sent to the house, signing the card simply, "To the woman I love, thank you for the wonderful weekend." When I got home, the flowers were on the table, and next to them stood my beautiful, smiling wife. She handed me the card and asked, "Were these from you? If not, you better find out who sent them." She smiled and kissed me. I asked her how school went that day, and she chuckled. My friends went out and this Tyler guy went with them. He asked Jennifer where I was. Jennifer told him, "Tyler, stay away from Sarah if you know what's good for you." She's happily married to a cop who's about 6 feet 5 inches and weighs about 250 pounds, and will literally wipe you out if Sarah tells him how you've been making a play for her. So what did he say to you today? I asked. Other than saying hi, he stayed away from me. I think he believes I have leprosy. Sarah laughed. Sarah, let's make another baby. I want to have a son with you, she said, her eyes sparkling. I smiled at her. Honey, if it's what you want, we'll practice day and night. If we have another girl, I just hope she's healthy and looks like you and the girls. I have the most beautiful family I know. Our lives were back to normal. We had dinner together most nights, and the girls told us about their days while Sarah and I discussed ours. No more secrets between us. About 2 weeks later, Sarah told me her group of friends was going out again and that she wanted to go. I looked a bit concerned until she added, I'll only go if you go with me. I want to wear that little black dress I bought last time. Can we go? I thought for a moment and looked her in the eyes. Only if you wear that black outfit you bought to go with it. She smiled. You know me too well. I wanted to surprise you, but I should have known I can't keep anything from you. Mom said she would watch the girls, but I promised them we'd take them somewhere next week. So we can go clubbing this week and to the zoo with the girls next week. Have I told you lately how much I love you, Mike Sullivan? Just about every day, which is how I like it. I grinned. We went out with her friends and had a fantastic time. This Tyler guy was a no-show, which was probably a wise move on his part. After our night of partying, Sarah and I went to our room where we could make all the noise we wanted that we couldn't at home. Let's make that baby, Sarah said. I'm off the pill. I could see by the look on her face that she was serious. We embraced passionately, exploring each other with renewed enthusiasm. 3 months later, Sarah asked me to go shopping with her. She had been gaining weight and wanted to buy a couple of outfits. The girls stood nearby and asked, Mom, why are you gaining weight? Well, I have a surprise for you. You girls are going to have a baby brother in about 6 months. She looked up at me with tears of joy in her eyes, and I knew she was telling the truth. We never lied or kept anything from each other again. We shared our daily stories, and I made sure to deal with any unwanted advances. We both knew that the answer to most marital problems was a lack of communication, and we weren't going to let that happen again. For those who wondered what happened to John Morrison, the man who killed his family, he healed and then went to court, where he was found guilty on 4 counts of premeditated murder. He is now on death row awaiting his date with destiny and has turned down all appeals. As for Sarah and me, we learned that trust isn't just about being faithful. It's about being open, honest, and never letting fear keep you from talking to the person you love most. Thank you for your viewing. See you next time. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to JK Tells a Story for more tales.